students at Wesley Seminary, the whole church benefits. This is an opportunity to start taking the next step for your church and for you. Who is preparing you to engage in missional ministry locally and globally? Find out more at wesleyseminary.com.
Very good. We have 5 schools, of which the ones that you've seen and heard from this morning, consistently every year we have students in. So Southern Wesleyan gets a group. We always have a group with Indiana Wesleyan. Sorry. Is everybody okay? Let's have a brief break to see if we can be helpful in this situation. Okay. All right. All right. Good. Okay. For those who are wondering, I think it was a young lady that had a slip and fall, but is okay. Just got a little cut, and they're trying to help her up. Thank you all that are helping, and I'm glad it's not something real serious. Well, we're family first, right? All right, it looks like they're going to get her some help. So, since this little slip happened, they have come forward to remind me that there are cables that are taped down to the floor that you need to be careful of as you walk out of this room. So keep that in mind so that we don't have any more of these hurtful situations. Okay. Well, maybe this will give us a little break in the action. We do have results that have come back on ballot number 3. So turn to our secretary to read those results.
This is for ballot number 3, the district board lay electing 2. The total number of votes cast is 135. The number necessary to elect is 68. The results are Alan Peavy, 75, Tia Peary, 52, Godfrey Watson, 66, Marissa Diaz, 77.
Okay, the chair believes we have an election, and it is Alan Peavy and Marissa Diaz. Congratulations. Just to get us going in a direction, I'd like you to turn in your booklet to page 32. 32 is where our resolutions are going to be presented to you. And we're going to take the very simple one first. Resolution number 1. So I'm going to turn to our secretary to read that. I believe we can do this one in a voice vote. Yes. It's not in because we don't need to vote by paper. Yep.
This is conference resolution number 1. Whereas we respectfully would remember those who have served the Lord as persons credentialed with the Florida District of the Wesleyan Church, and whereas these have gone on to their eternal reward during this past conference year, June 1st, 2022 through May 31st, 2023, be it resolved that the 2023 Annual District Conference Journal be officially dedicated to the memory of Reverend Bill Peavy.
This is coming to you from the DBA as a supported resolution. And so because it's the type, we can approve this by voice vote. I would say all those in favor of this resolution to be approved, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. The motion is carried. We do have a dedication for our district conference journal, and it to be dedicated in the memory of Reverend Bill Peavy. Thank you for that. I would like now to turn to our guys to, let's cue up the Global Partners video. And as they do that, afterward, I'd like to invite to the stage their representative from Global Partners, Barry Van Steenberg.
We know that God is present everywhere. And yet, He has given us a mission to go to the ends of the earth. Why? As His people, God has chosen to reveal Himself through us and to be the channel through which He blesses the whole world. The reality is that 4 in 10 people live in a location where there isn't a Bible, a Christian, or a church. We call these people the unreached. The gospel hasn't been shared in these places, and this is exactly where Jesus told us to go. Yes, we've gone and made disciples of some nations, but we have not yet gone and made disciples of all nations. In short, we aren't finished yet. In order to continue in the mission, we need everyone to play a part, from kids to seniors, across all economic groups. We must team together to send, support, and believe that, with God's help, we can move the kingdom of God forward in places where no one yet knows the saving and transforming work of Jesus. Are you ready?
The harvest is great, but the workers are few. It's time to branch out outside of this room. There's no time to waste. Go tell the good news.
I understand our representative is not with us. He's been here all week with us in the other forum and also over in the booth area, but has left. So I would just say on behalf of Global Partners, it's a wonderful mission arm that we have. Your church probably is involved, knows all about it, has missionaries that you support, mission fields that maybe that you support or even go to. And so just keep it up. Keep supporting it. Keep being a part of the world scene. That's who we are as Wesleyans, people that care about everyone all around the globe. All right, in the spirit of that, I'm going to ask the guys to cue up the World Hope video. This is another arm of the church that does mission work in a little different way. And so let's see what they have for us.
Life begins. A seed of possibility. Every soul, every one of us is created in the image of God with remarkable capacity, unparalleled complexity, the astounding potential to dream, love, and flourish. But that unrealized promise needs rich soil to thrive. Where there is no water, the community withers. Where there is no healing, the heart faints. Where there is no protection, the vulnerable are exploited and crushed. Like a seed, we need nourishment, care, love. We need all of them to flourish. That's why for nearly 3 decades, World Hope International has dedicated itself to the holistic work of alleviating poverty, suffering, and injustice in the name of Jesus. World Hope International is committed to build better, creating resilient communities with clean water and affordable energy. We are committed to heal together, improve global health, and ensuring access to health and nutrition to those who need it most. We are committed to stand with each other, protecting and defending against injustice and abuse. When men, women, and children possess the tools for change, we all flourish. This is the rewarding and transformational work of building resiliency, creating opportunity, and affirming dignity. This is how hope flourishes.
World Hope has been a great organization for a lot of years, and one of the things that we always think about World Hope is they're everywhere else but here, right? And yet you know, or maybe you don't know, that here is Florida and the Bahamian Islands. And we have 2 churches there. And World Hope has been helping those ministries. They helped them in one of the storms that just passed and the troubles that they encountered from the hurricane, as well as other efforts on Grand Bahama Island. And so even within our district, World Hope has been touching lives. So, you know, if you don't know a lot about World Hope and the things that they're involved in doing, this is a great opportunity. Look them up on the web and get some more resources about the things that World Hope does. They're a great mission arm. All right, I did promise that we would, I did it kind of quietly, but I did promise that we would view a video of an upcoming conference called Follow. And so I want the guys to cue that up, and as they do, I want to invite Mike Oliver, that represents our youth department here, to be able to share a little bit following the video.
Did you know that the largest attended Wesleyan event is happening later this year? It is called Follow, and it serves as our International Wesleyan Youth Convention. Many of you in this room responded to your call to ministry at a youth convention or a camp or something just like this. And this is where we want to pour into the next generation. Well, as you sit in district conference, several of us are traveling all over Kingdom Come to visit your camps and encouraging students to join us. However, I know that it won't happen unless the people in this room help make it happen. While I was at the gathering in January, Charlie Alcock made a plea after he showed a video that many of you heard. And when he was done, one of the speakers for the gathering shared that he wanted to invest in that Follow. And I was blown away by his generosity. But then I thought to myself, like, he believes in this, and he isn't even Wesleyan. he hasn't even been to Follow. And so how much more should those who have tasted and seen what the Lord has done at this event? So my plea to you is that you will pray about how you can invest in your students, and you'll even consider coming yourself and being a part of this. Like, this year's theme is empowered. And given all that is happening around us right now, I think it is fitting for us to lean into Acts 1:8. And it says this, it says, "But you will receive power when the Holy Spirit comes on you, and you will be my witnesses in Jerusalem and in all Judea and Samaria and to the ends of the earth." Come and join us for an incredible time of powerful worship, inspiring messages, engaging workshops, and have some fun in our own indoor amusement park called iZone. Our prices begin at $249 for quad occupancy for early birds, and you only have a few months left at those prices. It's going to be amazing. Now, remember, there are two things that are new this year that we've never done before. We're having a young adult track for ages 18 to 30 with workshops and additional programming, but also, if you are bringing your students as a pastor, as a DS, as a lay leader, we're also going to have a track just for you. So save the date, mark your calendars, and meet us at Follow 2023. See you there.
Good morning. In 2019, we sent 105 student and leaders to the Follow Convention in Cincinnati, and it was a huge blessing. We had many students who realized their calls into ministry. They rededicated their lives and gave their lives over to Christ for the very first time at Follow, and we're looking to do the same thing again. I love how Santise put it as to be able to invest in our next generation, and I love the concept of not only just your youth when it comes to 6th through 12th grade, but also young adults from 18 to 30. And as we know with the church, it's a struggle when it comes to bringing youth and young people into the church. And this is an amazing opportunity that we have as a Florida district to be able to invest and send our youth and young adults to this amazing conference where their lives have an opportunity to be changed, where they get to experience and encounter the Holy Spirit in a whole new way, where it's not just adults in a room, it's people their own age, understanding that I'm not alone. I'm not alone in this journey, and we're just praying hard for that. I know our prices, they're $50 a little bit higher than what Santise says. That's to help us get there. We've been blessed when it comes to being fiscally responsible as a district youth to be able to provide 2 charter buses. We have put down deposits on 2 charter buses, so there's 110 spots. And as of literally just a couple minutes ago, over 40% have been filled already when it comes to teens and young adults. Yes, amen for that. Yeah. And I want to encourage you guys, don't wait till the last minute, because that last minute is going to come very, very, very fast. I have a booth over there. If you're looking to register and more information online, you can go to our district website, click on the ministries, can click on the youth side, a link for registration and all the information when it comes to Follow. It is December 28th through the 31st. And as I told our pastors in the team meeting, we will be home mid-afternoon on the 31st. So they get to celebrate New Year's and just to celebrate what God has done in their lives, start the new year. Love you guys. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your prayers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Great event. Great things happen. Let's get our kids there. All right, we do have some results. Looks like ballot number 4 has come back, so I'll turn to our secretary to read our results.
This is ballot number 4 for the nominating committee ministerial, electing 3. The total number of votes cast is 135. The number necessary to elect is 68. The results are Mike Oliver, 78. Luis Vivalencio, 87. Caitlin Nixon, 45. Peggy Higgins, 40. Marcia Ignace, 68. Nick Forbes, 88.
Okay, we do have an election, the chair believes. We were electing 3. We needed 68 to be approved, and actually 4 met the threshold, but the 3 highest would be the ones elected, and that is Nick Forbes, Luis Villavencio, and Mike Oliver. Congratulations. Well, we're going to move into resolution number 2. Page 32 in your book. I'm going to turn to our secretary to read this. This may take a little time to read.
This is resolution number 2, starting on page 32 of the booklets. Resolution to amend standing rule, pastoral support standards, guidelines. Whereas we have a growing number of churches in the Florida district, and whereas many of these churches have pastors who are employed outside of the church, and whereas there has been some confusion on when a pastor should be given the opportunity for bivocational pursuits, and whereas the old formula to provide pastoral support based on church income is out of date, and whereas inflation has changed our current economic situation, be it resolved that standing rule pastoral support standards be amended by eliminating the support formula based on church's income the previous year and replacing it with a minimum salary and housing allowance combination amount of $48,000 to determine if there is a bivocational need. Benefits: rent-free usage of a parsonage with utilities provided or a cash housing allowance. In the event a church provides a housing allowance and the pastor must rent his or her housing, then the church shall provide the new pastor with the necessary funds to move into said housing. This shall include required deposits, first month's payment, utility deposits, and other required funding necessary to move. Any prepaid deposits must be paid to the church by the pastor, and then when the pastor leaves his or her assignments. Full family health insurance coverage, participation in the Wesleyan Pension Fund, minimum of 12% of salary as defined by the Wesleyan Pension Fund, full Social Security tax, reimbursement of travel expenses and costs related to attendance at district or denominational events such as General Conference, District Conference, Leadership Ministerial Conferences, or Retreat, and attendance at these events shall not be counted as vacation time. Pastoral vacation standards. Vacations with pay for all pastors of this district shall be based on the number of years in Christian service by conference appointment in this or other districts as follow. During the first and up through 5 years of service, a minimum of 2 weeks. After 5 years of service, 3 weeks. After 15 years of service, 4 weeks. After 20 years of service, 5 weeks. It is strongly recommended that no pastor should be absent from his church for more than 2 consecutive Sundays without previous approval of the LBA. Each local church be encouraged to give the equivalent of 1 week's salary annually to the pastor as a vacation bonus immediately preceding the vacation. This is not to be included as vacation pay taken at the end of one's term of pastoral service at any given church. So that it reads as follows: pastor's compensation. The district standard for each local church to compensate their pastor with a salary or housing allowance combination shall be $48,000. Churches shall allow for bivocational pursuits of the pastors until they are able to fulfill this minimum salary or housing allowance guideline and all other recommended benefits below that are part of the total package being provided. Benefits: rent-free parsonage, rent-free use of a parsonage with all utilities provided or cash housing allowance. In the event a church provides a housing allowance and the pastor must rent his or her housing, then the church shall provide the new pastor with necessary funds to move into said housing. This shall include required deposit, first month's payments, utilities, deposits, and other required funding necessary to the move. Any prepaid deposit must be repaid to the church by the pastor when the pastor leaves his or her assignment. Full family health insurance coverage. Participation in the Wesleyan Pension Fund, minimum of 12% of salary as defined by the Wesleyan Pension Fund. Full Social Security tax. Reimbursement of travel expense and costs related to attendance at district denominational events, General Conference, District Conference, Leadership Ministerial Conferences, or retreats. Attendance at these events shall not be counted as vacation time. Pastoral vacation standards. Vacations will pay for all pastors of this district shall be based on the number of years in Christian service by conference appointment in this and other districts as follows. During the first and up through 5 years of service, a minimum of 2 weeks. After 5 years of service, 3 weeks. After 15 years of service, 4 weeks. After 20 years of service, 5 weeks. It is strongly recommended that no pastor shall be absent from his church for more than 2 consecutive Sundays without previous approval of the LBA. Each local church is encouraged to give the equivalent of 1 week's salary annually to the pastor as a vacation bonus immediately preceding the vacation. This is not to be included in vacation pay taken at the end of one's term of pastoral service at any given church.
Thank you. Some of you may, that haven't been part of this conference proceedings in the past, may not understand where resolutions come from, the backdrop of it. But basically speaking, we have what's called standing rules that are in our journal as a district, which are decisions that have been made by this conference in the past by all the church delegates and clergy that were represented in those conferences. So that's where it begins, where the actual policy that was there to start with comes from. And the DBA reviewed this and brought a resolution to you that's before you for the purpose of amending it just in that area of the compensation dealing with housing and salary. Everything else would stay the same. With that understood, do we have any discussion for this resolution? Yes.
Thank you. Editorial change, the next to last paragraph on 34. Shouldn't it read, "It is strongly recommended that no pastor shall be absent from his or her church"?
Thank you. That's editorial, and that's accepted as such. The office would care for that. So that's something we have been working on editorially, making sure that we're in the right place with some of our wording. Yes.
Quick question. Does any of the compensational deal come from the district, or is it strictly on the local church itself?
No, it's on the local church, and this has been amended to be considered because it's a floor that we see that determines whether a pastor should be viewed as a bivocational pastor versus a pastor that's being paid full-time in their position. Yes?
I'm sorry that I was not at DBA meeting when you guys talked about this, but I do have a concern as a lay member of a board from a long time. Item number 2 on page 34. Literally every other item on this page is based on some calculation of a ratio, whether it's pension benefits, Social Security taxes, whatever. Item number 2 is literally an unfettered and unbudgetable topic. Full family health insurance coverage could be anything from $500 to $2,000 a month. It's difficult for me to say that you're going to put this in a standing rule when there is no limit on it at all. You know what I'm saying? Even what full family coverage could be 500 things: high deductible, low deductible, standard plan, non-standard plan. There's so many things that fall into that category, and we're just putting it in there basically as a blanket item. I have to feel like there's got to be some kind of a limitation on that.
Okay, thank you. I would only comment as part of correction. This is not being placed in the present state. It was already decided by conference vote in the past. So what's before you is an amendment to something that was already passed by our conference many years ago. Okay, do we have any? Yes?
Is this for all pastors or just lead pastors?
All pastors for the consideration of whether they should be considered bivocational or not. Yes. That means that they would be considered to have opportunity to go out into the marketplace and have some other type of job to be able to care for their family if the standards were not met under their employment with the church. Yes.
Obviously, family size would be an issue.
Yeah, there could be consideration further, but at the moment, Bill, I'm right with you. We have to sort through how does this move forward in years to come. Further discussion will have to take place and study for that to happen. But it has been talked about that it needs to be studied for the future. Yes. And yes, it's a minimum for just bivocational consideration by the church. Yes, sir.
And that's what I was going to reiterate too. These are just guidelines and not
recommended guidelines, yes.
Yeah, so we have support standards with guidelines in parentheses.
Yes. So why would this have been done many years ago and placed in our standing rules is really simple. A large part of what I would do when I come into a local church is help them either with the placement of pastor, possibly talk to them about their pastoral compensation, and they want ideas. What should they do? How should they care for their pastor? How they might be able to improve, whatever. As a DS, we need some guidelines that will help us to guide the local ministries in the form of the LBAs. In current form, if you look at what was there, a church income that was struck out, it's outdated. We're way past that from the vantage point of modern days and inflationary times. So the thought was we just need to come up with a floor to basically eliminate confusion for consideration for bivocational pursuits or opportunities that a pastor may take on with the approval of a local church. So this just separates it, creates the floor, and it gives me the ability to say, well, if a pastor's at this level, you ought to give them some other opportunities to be able to care for their family. If they get above that level, then I know I can express, hey, you guys are doing good. Do you want, any thoughts on the future? So that's, I think, probably the main purpose they did this years ago, to help the person that's trying to help everybody when they're out in the field to be able to make decisions in the local church. Does that help? Yes.
Is this an and, like the salary of $48,000 and all the other benefits?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
It is an and it's always been an and. It's, combination. Salary, housing, and benefits. Any other questions? Anybody want to speak to it? Are you ready to vote? All right, I hear consensus to vote. You have a ballot before you, number 6. Need a ballot? Okay, we need to get a few ballots to some folks. Resolution number 2. I'm going to turn to our secretary to read it and your choices.
This is ballot number 6, resolution number 2, amending standing rule, pastoral support standards, guidelines. Choosing either yes, I approve, or no, I do not approve.
Okay, mark your ballots appropriately, turn them over, and send them to the end of the aisle. Thank you very much. We're going to go on to resolution number 3. And I'm going to turn to our secretary, page 35, if you would read resolution number 3 for us.
Resolution number 3, found on page 35 of our booklet. Resolution to amend standing rule youth budget and assessments. Whereas our district financial resources have grown and our financial position is strong, And whereas we have been lowering assessments on churches to reduce their expenses, and whereas the youth assessment only brings in around $1,000 per year, and whereas the treasurer's time providing each church with its youth assessment, tracking and collecting the assessment, and distributing this assessment to the youth is not an efficient use of their time, and whereas this is financial growth in the Florida districts, which has brought support to the youth, and whereas the overall need for the youth department can be provided through the district budget each year. Be it resolved that standing rule youth budget and assessment be amended by eliminating the youth assessment and leaving the youth budget. The District Wesleyan Youth Executive Committee shall present a budget to the District Board of Administration for review, adjustment, and approval. Deficits in the district youth operating funds shall be covered by district funds. No monies shall be expended above the approved budget without prior approval by the District Board of Administration. So that it reads as followed. The District Wesleyan Youth Executive Committee shall present a budget to the District Board of Administration for review, adjustment, and approval. Deficits in the district youth operating funds shall be covered by the district funds. No monies shall be expended above the approved budget without prior approval by the District Board of Administration.
Okay, resolution number 3 is before you. Do we have any discussion over it? Okay, hearing none, I would encourage you to pull out ballot number 7. I'll let our secretary read the ballot and your choices to you.
This is ballot number 7, resolution number 3, amending the standing rule, youth budget and assessment, choosing yes, I approve, or no, I do not approve.
Okay, mark your ballots, turn them over, and pass them to the end of your aisle. While they are collecting that, I believe we have one set of results that have come back from the tellers that I would like our secretary to read. It is ballot number 2.
Ballot number 2 for District Board Ministerial, electing 2. The number of votes cast, 134. The number necessary to elect, 68. Results: Sarah Cochran, 60. Jean Mercius, 68. Dennis Harmison, 70. Phil Lewis, 70.
Wow, the chair believes there is an election, but it was very close. Phil Lewis and Dennis Harmison have been the elected 2. Congratulations. Well, we do have some outstanding elections yet to report to you. And while we wait, I think I will turn for the guys to cue a video from Habitat for Missions. And then I'm going to invite up to the stage afterward to speak one of our own, Josh Bonner, that is involved in this Habitat for Missions.
In southeastern Uganda, education is a cherished gift. Even though there's public education, everyone is required to pay school fees, and if a child can't pay, they're sent home. This is a problem for many families who are simple farmers, single mothers, or orphan children. For many young children, school is too far away to walk. Enter Focus on Uganda. You see, Focus on Uganda is a ministry based out of Georgetown, Kentucky, that has spent years traveling to this area of Uganda with teams that have invested in the lives of children. Their dream has been to make available to this area of Uganda a vocational school that would transform the futures of these precious children. In 2019, Focus on Uganda and Focus Wesleyan Church partnered with Habitat for Missions to help make this dream come true. HFM purchased a 100-year-old 3-story house near downtown Georgetown. Volunteer laborers from the church, Focus on Uganda, and the community came together and transformed the house inside and out. When the house was completed, HFM sold the house and gave 90% of the net profit to the Focus on Uganda's effort to buy land and build the vocational school. But the story doesn't end there. In 2022, Focus on Uganda partnered with HFM to buy and rehab another house, this time in Lexington, Kentucky. Once again, faithful volunteers renovated the house. When HFM sold the property, Focus on Uganda once again received 90% of the profit for the school project. These two projects netted over $200,000 in new resources for the Kingdom Building Initiative in Uganda. The land has been purchased and the first buildings for the school are being built. Lives will be transformed, communities given new hope, and most importantly, the good news of Jesus will have a new avenue to flow through this community. Habitat for Missions was created in 2005 to be this type of life-giving mission. This is still true today. Join with HFM as we partner with churches and organizations to transform our world, one house flip at a time.
Well, good morning. I'll make this very brief in 2 minutes. I'm going to share part testimony and part invitation. I think we all realize there can be a gap between the dreams that God has placed in our heart and the financial resources that we have to make it happen. In December of 2015, I'd accepted a 3-year calling to go to Africa as a missionary, and I had zero money to make that happen. And a guy named Bill Foster, who founded Habitat for Missions, happened to go to my church. He says, "I hear you're going to Africa. What's your game plan financially?" I said, "God will provide." And that was my game plan. He goes, "Well, yes, he will." But he says, "How about we flip a house for you, and God will provide people to do it." I said, "Bill, I've never used a circular saw. How do I run a team when I don't even know how to use any tools?" He says, "God will provide that too." So 5 senior citizens at my church that were handymen, we restored a house for 6 months, and God provided $25,000 for me to go to the mission field. And I say that because maybe you're not handy, maybe God hasn't placed a dream yet, but the Acts 1:8 thing that Wayne Schmidt offered was 50 days of prayer. I would encourage you, if you want to increase your giving for missions as a church, if you want to send a short-term missions team from your church somewhere and you just don't have the resources to make it happen, this organization is so flexible in allowing the individual church to decide where they want the money to go. They're not going to designate the money, you do. That's the benefit of it. Our church decided to give it to me, and I was super blessed, and God used that 3 years. So I would encourage you to pray for it. If you have a dream and you don't have the financial resources, Habitat for Missions is amazing. If you're interested, come talk to me today about that.
Thank you, Josh. Just as a note, Josh not only came up to speak here, he is also our new men's leader. So I know the pastors heard from him yesterday, and there's a retreat coming for the men this fall. What are the dates again? November 10th and the 11th. He's doing it at a retreat center, I believe, up in Hudson. $90. All right, men, get on board. Get your churches on board. Get your men there. He has an outside speaker coming from South Africa. We haven't had a men's leader for a little over a year, so this is your opportunity to get involved in that. Get your men there. All right, we do have our last ballot of elections that has come back for some results. I'll turn to our secretary if you would read the results of ballot number 5, please.
Ballot number 5, nominating committee lay, electing 3. Total number of votes cast, 138. Number necessary to elect, 70. Gigi Lawson, 107. Holly Furiat, 116. Naomi Murcius, 92. Bethany Mamarillo, 99.
Wow. Again, very close, but we do have an election. Gigi Larson, Holly Florio, and Bethany Mamarillo. Congratulations. Well, that does complete our elections, which means that we didn't have to go back through and revote or do another ballot on any of them, which is really good from the standpoint of time. But we do have the resolutions 2 and 3 to find out what the results are of them. While we wait for that, I thought it might be good for us to skip to the end and do something that we usually do at the very last thing before we walk out. And that is called our Pastoral Relations Report. It's never all that much fun, but we need to have correct information and people appointed to the right places. So our ushers have these pastoral relations reports that they're going to pass out to you that has been gone over by the DBA to present to you. It's never perfect, probably isn't right. Look at your own appointment. Make sure that we have you in the right location. Make sure the names are spelled correctly and all that. And if you're here representing a church, make sure your church has all the pastors that are supposed to be appointed there. So find yourself or find your church and see what you can sort through by looking at this pastoral relations report. Once you have a chance to look at it, we'll take any questions and or editorial changes. No, everybody. We could take up a lot of time, and the years gone by, I hated to practice, but the DS would turn to the secretary to read this report. Can you imagine? Well, I decided somewhere along the way that I wouldn't torture our secretaries. And so we do no longer read the report. We allow you to read the report and find yourself and fix it. So How we doing with getting the reports out? We're not quite there. Almost there. I believe this may take us a half an hour if we had to actually read it. Just the reading part. Yeah, I would say something else has changed on our district. As in my report, I highlighted the fact that in the last 15 years, we have ordained, commissioned, or validated 101 people in this district. And in addition to that, we have transferred in a bunch more. Very few people transfer out, and a lot more people transfer in. So over the years, I would say as I've been in this office, this report is probably twice as long as it used to be. So it was painful back then. It would be really painful today. All right, I believe everybody has something in their hands. See if you can find yourself, and what do you got? Do you got corrections for us? Yes, ma'am. Okay, where is that listed? Under chaplains. Is it ROA? Okay, Secretary, do we have it? Melinda House, Roa. Dash or just Roa? No dash, just Roa. ROA. Okay, thank you. Yes. Could you come up and just tell him the spelling? Okay, someone else? Yes, Bob. Annie George is associate pastor. That's listed under First Wesleyan Church in Hollywood. Associate pastor, Annie George. Okay. Well, what does that say? Okay, you go to Lighthouse. Yes. Lighthouse Church. Amy Gray should be listed as what? She's pastor currently. Yes, we have it listed as pastor because if there's not a staff, then they're just pastor, not senior pastor. All right? Yes. VROMAN. Okay. Somebody else? This is good. We're getting these names in proper order. Okay, are we happy? Well, you gave our secretary something to do. I will count on him to get those spellings all correct and name changes taken care of. In light of that, though, if you are happy now, are we ready to receive the pastoral relations report? All right, sounds like you are. Then I would say all those in favor of receiving the pastoral relations report say aye. All opposed say no. It is carried and it is received. With that being accomplished, we are getting back to some ballots that we got some results from, so I'm going to turn to our secretary to read ballot number 2 results.
This is ballot number 6 for resolution number 2. Amending Standing Rule Pastoral Support Standards Guidelines. Yes, I approve, 123. No, I do not approve, 7.
Okay, the chair believes it's overwhelming approval. Thank you for your vote. Ballot number 7. We have results. I'll turn to the secretary to read those results.
This is ballot number 7, resolution number 3. Amend Standing Rule Youth Budget and Assessments. Yes, I approve, 126. No, I do not approve, 4.
Again, the chair believes there's overwhelming support to approve, and you have done so. So our standing rules will be amended to take these 2 resolutions into consideration now that you have approved them. And editorial changes will also be considered when it comes to looking at our standing rules moving forward. We have been working on that. I guess you would say all things, there's some areas of communication that are a little out of date. And that's not something, those rules that we look at every day. So it's something that just sits there in our journal until somebody wants to bring it up. But we will work on it. Thank you for having such a good voice on this. And it also seems to me unity over making these amendments. Well, I normally do skip to the